Possum and the Peeper. Words and pictures by Ann Hunter. Peep, peep, peep. Possum opened one small eye. What was that noise? He buried his head deeper in his warm winter nest. Peep, peep, peep. I'll never get back to sleep with all this racket. I'm gonna go find out who's making all this noise so early in the spring. Possum stepped out into the cool green morning. Peep, peep, peep. Possum looked up. A pair of catbirds were building their nest high in a tree among the new leaves. "Is that you peeping up there?" demanded Possum. "Not us," said the catbirds. "We can scarcely hear ourselves sing with all that clamor." Clamor is another word for noise, loud sounds, something that's disturbing Possum right now. Well, I'm gonna see for myself who's making such a din. Din's another word for loud sounds. "We'll come too," said the catbirds. "We can search high in the trees while you look low on the ground." High and low, those are opposites. They set off through the woods. Possum stopped to sniff the trout lilies blooming along the path. Peep, peep, peep. They followed the noise up a hill. Oh, do you see a little insect in the picture? Insect is an animal with 6 legs. Can't be the possum. Possum only has 4 legs. At the crest of the hill stood a bear, blinking blearily outside his cave. "Who woke me from my warm winter sleep?" he snarled, showing his long white teeth. "Was it you?" he said, spying Possum. "No," said Possum, "but we are on our way to find out who it was." "I'd better come along then," growled the bear. "You may need someone of my size when you find this fellow." Do you see his long white teeth? They continued over the hill, the catbirds flying overhead, the bear grumbling along behind. The spring sun shone down warm on their feathers and fur. Beep, beep, beep. The sound was getting louder and louder. Here they come over the hill. The catbirds are searching up high while Possum and the bear are looking below. What are they heading to over here? Do you see water? They came down to a marsh where they saw a muskrat spring cleaning his house. "Excuse us," shouted Possum. "Have you been peeping?" "What?" yelled the muskrat. "I can't hear you over all the noise." Well, we're on our way to put a stop to it, once and for all, said the bear. If you could show us the way through this swamp? Let's look for the muskrat. Do you see it? Next to the turtle in the marsh. They're calling across to each other, but it's hard to hear because there's a peeping sound so loud. They pressed on, following the muskrat, peering between new green shoots and into dark pools, closer and closer, louder and louder. Are they getting close to the sound? Possum's looking in the marsh. What do you think it will be? Possum pushed aside some reeds. What will it be? Aha! They cried, squinting at a small spot on the bank. They found it right here. How could such a speck of a thing make such a huge racket? Do you think racket's another word for loud sounds? How could such a speck of a thing make such a huge racket? Asked the bear. You have woken us up then, and the entire forest, little frog, said Possum. The little Peeper looked up from the possum to the muskrat, to the catbirds, and finally to the bear. Then he puffed out his tiny throat. So here's the Peeper. And he looks at the bear and the muskrat and the catbirds and the possum over there. And he puffs out his throat. Here's some fiddleheads. What do you think the Peeper does? Rise and shine, he shouted. Shake a leg, build your nests and clean your burrows. It's spring, it's spring, it's spring. The bear stepped closer to the little frog. I don't like to be awakened so early in the year, especially, he added, especially by a frog. Do you see the Peeper's throat has expanded? Maybe that's an important part of making a loud peeping sound. Oh, but look at the beautiful spring flowers, cried the Peeper. Oh, sniff the good spring smells. How could you want to sleep through such a glorious spring day? The animals looked around at the budding trees. They smelled the blooming flowers and felt the warm sun shining. They listened to the buzzing bees and warbling birds. Legs stretched and bellies rumbled. It was true, quite true. No one could deny that it was a fine thing indeed to be out and about on the first warm day of spring. Let's look at their beautiful home where they live. Near the marsh, by the hill, they've got wildflowers, insects, trees blooming. Do you have those things near your house? Beautiful warm sunshine. There's nothing quite like a good walk on a spring morning, proclaimed Possum. Won't you join us for breakfast, little Peeper? It was the Peeper that inspired their walk, right? They were all in their homes until they heard the Peeper calling. But the spring Peeper was already peeping again at the top of his lungs. Time for breakfast! Toast and tea. The early bird gets the worm. Peep, peep, peep. Oh, do you remember when we saw fiddleheads on the other page? What is the muskrat eating right now for breakfast? Peep, peep, peep. Let's make that sound together. Peep, peep, peep.